Привет, друзья! Это DRUMCHANNEL, и сегодня у нас необычный выпуск, а точнее у нас в гостях необычный гость, это JP Bouvet. Мы так рады твоему визиту. Привет, JP.
Привет.
Привет. Nice to meet you and see you here. Thank you for coming.
It's my pleasure. I'm excited to be here.
Okay, we have some questions for you.
Okay. Hopefully I have answers.
First one. How do you find Russia?
Well, I've been here for 2 days, and it's been great. Everyone's been very nice. I had a clinic yesterday, and I visited Vitaly at the Blast Beat drum shop, and I met a bunch of drummers, and everyone's been very nice. It seems like a very passionate culture of people. You know, they're good hosts. Everyone's excited about being a good host, and showing me the best that there is to see. So it's been very nice.
How important is the role of music education when you're a drummer?
Do you mean music education like music theory with notes and stuff?
Yeah.
Like chords?
Yes.
How important is it? I think it's especially important when you're, as a drummer, playing in a group of other musicians, because it just helps to understand how it works so you know what someone else is going through. Mm. I mean, obviously, if you're writing music, it's essential that you know, well, it's very helpful if you know what you're constructing with. But as far as communication goes, and if you're in a band that writes original music, I think that's where it's most important, because you might be working with a guitarist for a moment, and you want to contribute an idea, but if you have no idea like how the chords work, or why they work, or what's possible on the instrument, it can be very difficult to convey the idea. So I just feel like the more you know, the more focused ideas you can give people. So instead of saying, why don't we try like a thing like Nirvana, you can say, why don't we play like this rhythm, bum, 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 and you can write it out, and then be like, it's like a 4 chord, and then it goes to like the 6 chord, or whatever you want to say. So you just like, you'll be more and more useful as a drummer, I think. And the reading is kind of tagged in there. So whenever you're reading music, like when you're studying music, whether it's theory or anything, there's always rhythms involved. So the more you do that, the better your reading gets, and vice versa. There
were moments when you wanted to quit everything.
Were there moments I wanted to quit? I don't think so. Because when I started when I was 9, and I definitely went through phases of, like, I practiced a lot, I'm really into it, and then maybe like a year or 2, not so much. But you know, you're like 10, 11 years old. You can only be so serious about music unless someone's forcing you to do it. So there were periods where I was less active, but I've never really wanted to quit. It's always been the thing I love most. Like, I feel very at home behind the drum set. So even, I really believe that even if no one were to hear me play again, ever, I would still go practice, because I think there's so much more to practicing than getting better at the drums. I feel like you're becoming a much better you. You know, you're working on your self-discipline. There's a certain sense of meditation that goes on when you're playing for a long time, looping, repeating things, physically doing the same thing. And as well, just being alone for that amount of time. It's hard to be alone nowadays, so it's really nice to be alone. And I think also you learn how to solve problems. It's a good problem-solving thing, because you're like, I know that I can do this. I want to be able to do this. What steps need to be taken logically for me to be able to be more like this inspiration, or to play this kind of groove, or whatever it may be. So yeah, I never wanted to quit, but I've been through ups and downs, and I do all the time. Like a year and a half ago, I was really in a down phase. No one knew, but I wasn't practicing. I was just like, I'm not into this. I was considering other career like things, like maybe I need to like start another business alongside drumming. But it was never like I'm gonna hang up the sticks. But yeah, I definitely go through ups and downs.
When did you realize that you want to be the coolest drummer?
The coolest drummer?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm the coolest drummer, but I think when I was growing up as a younger kid, like middle school, high school, so like 12 to 18. That's when I lived in Minnesota, which is in the middle of the U.S., before I moved to Boston for school. But before I moved to Boston, I just, you know, I was a bit naive in a good way, blissfully so. And I just wanted to be a rock star, you know. I just wanted our band to be famous and like the very simple things you want when you first start drumming. And then when I really committed my life to music was when I decided to go to music school in Boston. And it was not an easy decision because it's so expensive. And my family, it was a struggle not just for me to be at school, but for my family to afford it. So there was that a little bit of added pressure of like, it's not just my well-being at stake here, you know? So it was a bit of I was considering maybe doing architecture or graphic design school or something else. And at some point my mom, who was a musician, said, you should go. Because if you don't go, you're always gonna say, what if you went to school, you know? So that was kind of the turning point. And that's when I really committed like my whole life, waking up to going to sleep to being a drummer, being a musician.
Is it true that your application will be released for iOS or Android?
Yes, I mean, I don't have a date yet, release date, but that's something I really want to, I'm set on the next big update of my website, which is jpbouvetmusic.com.
Yeah.
I really want there to be a mobile app because from my generation and younger, we're born with a cell phone in our hands, and it's an iPhone or some kind of touch device. And most people don't have, like most of like the people I connect with are like high school, middle school. Most of them don't even have laptops, computers and stuff. But I want them to be able to study or watch the videos wherever they are. And I think that's important because if I can do it on my phone, I'm not going to take out my laptop. And I want people to be able to go to the practice room and not have a clunky computer with them and just have their phone with everything they need and for it to be more accessible in that way. Yeah. So you always have it when you need it. Yeah. So I don't know when, but I'm hoping with the next big update of the website. Yeah,
we hope to. Are you going to visit Russia with the Dave McKay or
with
your
Dave
band?
McKay Group?
Yeah.
Dave McKay Group is currently planning a tour for the spring, but it doesn't involve Russia, unfortunately, because we're driving, and it's just, that would be a really long trip from, I think the closest we get is like maybe Prague. So how long does it take to drive from Prague? Like,
2 days.
2 days, so that's why we aren't coming on this trip. But hopefully soon, because at the clinic yesterday, I played a song from Dave McKay Group, and I played a song from Drew of the Drew, another band I play in. And I was like, who knows Dave McKay Group? And like some people raised their hands. Who knows Drew of the Drew? Some people raised their hands. And it's really cool to see that. Yeah. It's really cool to see that it's reaching like such a far place from where it's created. So we definitely want to come. It's just a matter of logistics.
Do you have any plans on Common Thread Clinic's tour in Russia?
Well, our next frontier, our whole plan, which is me and Mike and Matt, our plan was to do the US first, because it's easier logistically, and then go to Europe with it. Probably the UK first, because it's closest, and then spread further. So absolutely, we do plan on that. It's sort of an infinite thing. That's what's great about the Common Thread Clinic Tour. I mean, now I know that there's a very real community in Russia, so I think it would be a very cool event to do here.
At this moment, is there any drummer who has the most influence on you?
Yes, there are a few. One of them is Benny Greb, because, for a few reasons. One, simply because, what is Benny Greb known for? Benny Greb is known for being musical and having a great sense of groove, for the most part. And the cool thing, Benny also has unbelievable independence. He can play fast, he can do what he needs to do, but he chooses to make music. And that's something that not only I think is very important and fulfilling as a drummer, but I think it's something that's sort of, it's coming up in our generation, because I feel like we had like a phase where the fad was to play really fast, really loud, really crazy stuff. And more as like starting, like as my generation is bringing it and the younger kids are bringing it, like there's more focus on making music groove and playing with purpose. That's the big thing that I take from Benny. Everything's done with intent. And I'm trying to really bring that to my playing as well, so that I'm not just like playing the same old stuff I know how to play, but I'm trying to explore and make music on stage. So that's one of the reasons I'm really into Benny, and I think he's just a wise person. He knows what he's doing and why he's doing it. Other than that, a couple friends of mine, I've been really focusing on groove this year, and just developing a better sense of groove in everything I'm doing. And a good friend of mine and the other drummer in Drew of the Drew, and the guy I share a rehearsal space with, his name's Ian Barnett. So he is like the groove master, like weird, off, like shifted grooves and like a lot of hip hop sounding type of stuff, but really forward thinking. So I'm around him a lot, and I'm just absorbing like the mentality of it. And then another friend of mine, Matt Garthka, who plays for Animals as Leaders, I saw them like a week ago, actually, in the Netherlands. And every time I see him, I'm just re-inspired to work harder, because he is the absolute example that you get out what you put in. The harder you work, the better you get. It's as simple as that.
Where do you practice? Is it home studio or anything else? And do you have some sort of program practice? Tell us what is your approach?
My routine. I'm not a super overly structured guy. Like some people have like 10 minutes warm up, hour of this, hour of this. But I practice in a rehearsal space that is 10 minutes from my house, well, my apartment in New York City. And it's great. I live in Queens. It's a quiet little neighborhood. It's not the New York City you think of when you think of big, tall buildings. And I go there in the morning when I wake up. And there's a cafe on the way. I get a coffee and a croissant. It makes me happy. It's part of the reason I go practice every day. And then I get there, and I usually try to do, what I find the ideal practice situation is to practice in the morning immediately when you wake up, and in the evening. Not like really late, but in the evening, like 7 or something. Because what's happening is every time you stop practicing anything, you start forgetting. You know, slowly things are going away. And it's not just like you're conscious, like, oh, I forgot the pattern, but it's your subconscious. That's more important, because we're like 90% subconscious. So the minute you stop playing, your subconscious starts forgetting what it was beginning to internalize and make second nature. So I find if I practice in the morning and in the evening, then when I come back to it in the evening, it's like I took a break. You know, it's not like a different practice session. It feels like I just took a break to do some other stuff in the day, and I came back to practice. And it's all fresh in my mind, and it's fresh like in my body. Like it knows what to do better, you know, because a lot of drumming is muscle memory. Because in your head, you'll hear gut, 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 gut. And you don't think of the sticking maybe, but you have so much muscle memory from repetition that your body just knows how to go bat, bat, to go bat, to bat, bat. But if you waited 10 years, your body wouldn't remember how to do that. So the less time you put before or between it, the better. And as far as when I'm practicing, it kind of differs because I don't have such a rigid schedule, but generally if I'm going to practice 2 hours, I'll try to break it into 2 or 3 sections of things that I'm interested in, that I want to work on. And the best practice tools I have are a practice log. So I write down not everything I do, but things that I'm really excited about working on, or things that I just like, okay, I'm still I suck at this still. So tomorrow, like, I'm doing this pattern, ding, da-da-ding, da-da-ding, and trying to be free underneath it. That's what I'll write. So the reason you do that is so that the next time you sit down, you don't have that moment of like, what should I practice? Because you just look at your practice log and like, well, that's what I was doing yesterday. Let's keep going. So the practice log, and then what I do is I have a timer that counts up. and I just have it there so that I can clock a minute at a time. Because if I'm doing an exercise, it might be like, I'll do this for a minute, and then, or like maybe I'll do this for 2 minutes, and then I'll switch to the next one for 2 minutes, and the next one for 2 minutes, and it's always there. And it just keeps you focused too, because if you start messing around, you see it and you're like, oh yeah, that's what I was doing. So it's good for you. And I just separate my session into maybe 2 or 3 chunks and chip away. Yeah, that's about as structured as I get.
How were you able to win so many international contests? Was it luck or precise planning?
It's both. It's definitely both. You've probably heard many times, you make your own luck. And to a certain extent, that is very true. Not entirely, but luck, it's really what is it? It's like, I just read this somewhere and it made a lot of sense. It's the merger of preparation and opportunity, right? Yeah. So opportunity, like random things that pop up, you can't really control except putting yourself in the right place, like trying to be out there, moving around, active. But the preparation side, you can control. So honestly, the 2 big competitions I won, I really feel I won because I prepared, and I know this for a fact, I prepared way more than anyone else in the competition. Like, hands down. I know it for a fact. And I was at the best I possibly could have been. And it was, calling back to what my mom said about going to Berkeley, you never want to say what if. With the drum offs, yeah, I didn't want to say, be at the competition and be like, what if I had practiced more? What if I had skipped this thing to practice? What if I had done this? So I did everything I could to remove the variables. So that even if I lost, which would have been fine, even if I lost, I would have been like, well, this is the best I could have done. That's that. I'll keep getting better. But it would be a horrible feeling to lose and be like, oh, if only I had blank. Put in the extra time, whatever, skip that vacation, whatever it might be. And in my case, I dropped out of school to practice more for the drum off. So I was practicing all the time. I went back home to my parents' home in Minnesota so I could just cave up in the basement and practice all day. And there is a certain amount of luck that you cannot control because the judges are different everywhere. Sometimes they're great judges, sometimes they're not so great judges, but all you can do is remove all the other variables so that and it's also, there's a part of it that's like, your audience will feel what you feel. I really believe in that. And if you feel confident and comfortable, like you know the ins and outs of your solo, the audience will feel that too. They'll be like, I'm with you, like I'm relaxed, I feel comfortable, I feel like you know what you're doing. Because when you feel like something's about to mess up, it's uneasy to watch. You know, when you're like, is this gonna end well? Like, it's not comfortable. So, like, usually the guy that gets the gig is more prepared. Usually the person that gets into the school prepared more. Usually the person that gets into the band prepared more than the other people. Because at the end of the day, we can all learn the same patterns. But it's really just like who took the time to learn the right ones and get very comfortable with them so that they're second nature. So that when game time comes, and you inevitably perform worse than you think you're going to, because you always do under pressure, that worst is better. Because that's what happens when you prepare, your best doesn't really get better, your worst gets better. Because if you're not prepared, your worst is like a train wreck. But when you're so prepared and you put so much time in, the worst that could happen is like you mess up some licks. But you always know where you are, you always know what you're about to do, what you're gonna do. So preparation is the biggest thing, period. And thinking smartly about what you're doing. In my case, it was like, I realized this is a drum solo competition. So it's like a composition competition. It's not a who can play fastest competition, because I can't play fastest. So looking at what the task ahead is and being like, what really are they looking for? Like, what will make an impact here, you know? So those are the main things.
Yeah. A few words for our viewers.
Awesome.
From JP.
Okay. If I want to leave some last words for the drummers that are going to watch this, it is this. There's a certain, it's be a doist. Doist, like do to do it. You're a doist. And the doist is like this new, it's like a, I don't know what the right word is, I don't want to say religion, but it's like a new belief that I'm really following. And it's just to be that guy. To always be that guy who organizes the rehearsals, who runs the show, who books the gig, who puts in the time designing promo. Because in every group of people, there has to be a leader. There has to be that guy. In every band you've ever seen in the world, and ones you think that, oh, they all work equally, they don't. It's impossible. And if they do, there's a huge clash of egos. There has to be someone to take the reins and say, I will make this happen. And you don't expect things in return. When you start booking gigs, you realize it's for the good of the whole group, and you can be proud of that. You don't need compliments, you don't need payment, you just want to make it happen. And in every group, there is that guy. So what I'm telling you to do is be that guy starting now. All the things you think you should do, the doist just starts doing them. They don't pay attention to all the reasons that they shouldn't or that it's not likely to succeed. It's like if you have that vision and you want to see it through, maybe it's just you alone, and maybe it's you carrying a group of 10 people, start doing it now. Because the hardest part, the hardest part is taking step 1. But after step 1 comes step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. And by the time you're at step 5, the people back that never took step 1 will look at you and they'll go, how did he do that? How did Sasha create this drum school? To Sasha, it makes perfect sense because he took step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and now we're at maybe step 100. It's been over 10 years later. But the difference between people who achieve great things and people who remain on the sideline in amazement isn't the fact that someone is smarter, it's the fact that they chose to do it. So become today a doist and start just taking action because it is the best thing you can do for yourself, it's the best thing you can do for the people around you, and it's the best thing you can do for the world, is become the best version of yourself. And a lot of times that just starts with doing what you love. And you know what you want to do, so you have to take step 1. That's my last words.
Great. Thank you, JP.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
My pleasure, Sasha. Thank you for having me.
It's a very big privilege for us that you are here.
And me as well. This is wonderful.
Thank you.
Great.
Пока. До встречи.
Bam.